tell you a little story, and it's a funny story because it shows what we go through as human beings, you know. But when I was 16 years old, I was trained in classical piano at that point, and I had voice lessons. I was so utterly devastated with the loss of my first love that I swore I will never play music ever again. I think that part of the practice of being a bard, and the Seanchai part is being a storyteller, and I think to be a bard is to tell the story of yourself, of your bullshit, of your greatness, of your lacking in self-esteem, your alcohol problem. But the one thing that I will be sure to do when I'm proficient with this Celtic harp, from that day forward, it will be the stories of others, not mine. Yeah, you know, I thought, well, I would have two little tykes running around and I would be this great father and this incredible profession, and that I would have this lovely lass for a wife and I would love her forever, and then I'd have my shit together, and well, it never happened that way. I have no intention to perform for people. Where's the wind? What I would really like to perform with is the elements. There she is. I'd like to perform with the water. I'd like to perform with the wind. There she is. Come on. Come on, wind. Come. I'd like to perform with the sun and the moon. I'd like to sit underneath a tree. And if you're walking by and I don't see you and you happen to hear me, and if it sounds lovely and beautiful and mystical and romantic and like a harp player, great. But I'm not performing for you. In this way, I know the wind isn't going to sit there and say, bravo, or sit there and say, you know, because that's not my intention with playing the harp. I remember a day when I was drinking like maybe a bottle of wine every 3 weeks, and then I got with these loggers and these fishermen, and the next thing I know, it was like a 6-pack a day turned into a 12-pack a day, and then throw everything else in there. For years, I was living out of dumpsters and doing a hell of a lot of acid, and just being completely self-destructive and talking in tongues, and I was like really crazy for a long period of time. But this is the most precious gift that I have received so far to help me try and sort out this life of mine, this human condition, this human experience. I love her so much, and so I named her after my first love, Lara. If I'm just feeling really off and unsure in life, Lara plays a wonderful tune for me, as we were playing in the wind there. And when I practice an hour a day, I'm not practicing just to become a proficient harp player. I'm practicing to go to revisit, no, go back to that place. You get these fuckers who, they're the king of the neighborhood. They're the big fucking shit, hey? They run the show. And they have these fucking accusations. They have these judgments about you. They all think you're fucking crazy. The same motherfuckers who accuse me would be sitting there fucking on Prozac in a fucking insane asylum right now trying to keep their fucking lives together. Well, I have a hard night when the memories come back. When the ghosts that I have in my life come back and haunt me and I have a fucking hard night. Trust me, man. You got fucking bullets going past your head. You fucking get bullets in your body. You go through this fucking shit. You can never tell anybody about what you've been through. You can never tell anybody. You just carry on. You just live your life. The harp is an instrument of the heart and will teach you. So in that sense, again, you know, I'm not learning how to play harp. I think the harp is learning how to play me. There, I'm gonna go in, I'm cold. And I need a beer. Afternoon, Tom. Good, how are you doing, mate? It's beautiful. And I believe that for me, the harp brings me to a place of the heart and the miracles of emotions and the miracle of feelings. But it's a double-edged sword, right? Because your passions, where we have passion and reason, your passions can sometimes be the greatest serpent to you, where you get raveled up in such a mess, you know, emotionally. As I go back to the story of Lara, I believe that your first love is the most pure form of emotion and completeness that you can possibly muster in this life. You know, it took me probably 20, maybe 25 years of my life to let Lara go. And about a year ago, I was engaged to be married, and that all went to the pots. And I had pretty much a breakdown about that. It's like when the pillars of your reality come crashing down. And that's happened to me on a few occasions. As I said, I almost died 3 times. And so, you know, this is new and it's old and it's old and it's new, but, you know, you just look at life in general. And, you know, the why for me is that I guess you could say is you know, it's in the capacity of any and all of us to sit there and say, well, what's it all worth, right? Like everything's temporary. Nothing lasts forever. So why put the energy into it in the first place? You know, I'm 40. I still have another 25 years in my work life to put something together. I'm not so concerned about putting something together. I'm more concerned about finding a reason to put something together. Sometimes I get very self-conscious when I look around and I see people who are building a retirement fund and they've got their RSPs and all these other things and maybe buying a piece of land and they have these families, and I'm like, well, that's not me, and what am I going to do? And I would never want anybody to take care of me, and I always thought that I'll have a shotgun death, and maybe this is dark, but a bottle of whiskey, a shotgun, and a boat in the middle of nowhere, and no one will ever find me. So, geez. Can't remember the original question. 3 beers will do that to you. There is one man in this community who totally fucking gets me. And he's a Second World War veteran who was under the wire in his time. One night, I was sitting out on the back of the cafe, and I told him my story. That man was the only man who actually knows who I am and what I've done and where I've fucking been. Everything else, including this, is a fucking lie. And she's in tune. What? the slightest variation. If I was to go outside right now, it's what, 5 degrees or something, and spend about 20 minutes outside, I would have to come back in and retune it all over again. So any temperature variation, the harp is very unforgiving unless you have a higher grade of concert harp or whatever. But that's okay. Like, I'm happy with that.
Where have you gone all my life? The drink has been strong. I have no child nor wife. I'd always think of you wherever I did roam. I love you with all my heart. Will you ever know? Take my hand, love, once again. The lark has grown wings, the serpent's kill our ill fate now. Smell like from the tongue. Take my hand, love, once again.
It's not that I am a wise man. It's not that I know all of the stories or all of the principles from Buddha to Jesus Christ to Gaelic stories. I don't know all that stuff, you know? I'm not really well read. I'm somewhat educated, whatever. But the truth of a bard, in which Lara helps me accomplish this task, and maybe one day I will feel that I'm worthy to have that title. The truth of the bard is to let the other person know it's okay to be a human being.
Oh, beautiful. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Thank you.
That's only half of the composition.
Wow.
It's a long ballad, and the song is about 3 things. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story.
That's stuff that you won't talk about, that you shouldn't talk about, that you don't need to talk about. This heals that.
Yes, it does. Yes, it
And so
does.
what we want to do is we want to show how that happens.
I was playing with the wind there. Who plays with the wind? Do you know what I'm saying?